Is homosexuality African or un-African?
Ghanaians united will never be divided.
We want to acknowledge the fight of our LGBTQI siblings in Ghana.
Every Ghanaian at home and in the diaspora must stand up and speak out to reject the spirit of colonization that this LGBTQ plus hate bill represents.
The video that you just watched is one among tons of videos, articles, and podcasts that are floating on the internet where people are making the argument that some of the anti-homosexual laws that are coming up in some African countries are laws that those countries inherited from colonial period. And that is very true, but not 100% true. So let's begin from the very true part. You see, those constitutions that are coming up in some African countries, it is true that they're very similar to colonial constitutions, and in particular, the sodomy law that came with the British colonization of some African countries. You see, when the British came to Africa and start colonization, they came with their constitution, hence colonization. And in some of those constitutions, they have something they call sodomy law. And sodomy on its own don't necessarily mean homosexual behavior, but it does mean oral and anal sex. So today people get, oral sex from women, right? Men to women and so on. And that is not an homosexual act. So claiming that the anti-homosexual laws are derived from that law, I think, we can say it's true, and we can also say it's not true. Depends on who you ask and what you believe in. And that is true anyway, that many constitutions came from the colonial constitutions. And the reason is this: before colonization, many African countries as we know them today did not exist as the countries that we know them to be today. They existed as autonomous regions and tribes, but not together as one country. Not all African countries, but most. Countries like Egypt existed as one, countries like Libya, countries like Ethiopia. In fact, these countries existed very long, for so long that they older than most European countries as we know those countries to be today. So let's just bear that in mind, because I don't want people misinterpreting me saying that I'm claiming African countries did not exist before colonization. The land, the people, the culture, the religion, the food, everything that makes a people existed, but not a constitutional country that we know them to be today. With that out of the way, let's move to the not 100% true part of the story. You see, I think it's a very lame idea and mentality to simply say any country that make a constitution that is against our belief is simply doing it out of colonial mentality. That is not true. Like I said earlier, the destinies of those countries are in their hands today, and they can do whatever they want. And if those countries were not colonized, they might have also make the same constitution, because there's no evidence that those countries wouldn't have done the same if they were not colonized, or if the colonial constitutions did not have the sodomy law in them. So let's not mistake the will of the people or what the society demands, or the cultural value or cultural or societal norms, and take all of that away and just say because this thing happens, then it came from colonization. Because when you do that, you are erasing the will of the people and simply saying that the people don't have the mind of their own and they're still living under colonization. And I understand why people are making this argument, because those constitutions did not exist as they are today before colonization. But guess what? When you look at African languages or cultures or history, and the most important piece of history that people tend to ignore is language. Language is a form of history that we use all the time. When you look at most African languages, and I'm saying most because I don't speak all African languages, otherwise I would have said all. But to keep it simple, in most African languages, the word homosexual or homosexuality or gender do not exist. And I've made research into this. And when they exist, it's either they are insults on those people who practice homosexual behaviors, or they happen to be literal translation of the act, which means a man who sleeps with a man or a woman who sleeps with a woman. And in other cases, it's a literal translation from English or French words for homosexuality. So we should not get over our head when we're making this argument, regardless of which side of the fence you stand. And that is what I just want to put out there to you guys. Stay sharp. My name is Eze and this is The Immigrant, and thanks for watching.